So at work the other day, I had a task to update our database and the basic entities with some additional information. And I wanted to make a test and see if my solution is valid, which it is, but I wanted to be extra careful because we would have to update a lot of entries in the database if something wasn't quite right. So let's start with our basic entity. So this will have the entity annotation, and here we want the ID and generated value of identity. This will be a private long ID, and we will have just a name for the employee. For now, that is. We want okay. We want an empty constructor, and let's create a constructor just with a name for now. And we also want the getters and setters, of course, and we don't care about the toString right now. So let's create an event listener that will create employees when the application starts. So we want an event listener, public void, let's say db init, and here we want the application ready event. For our employee, of course, we need the repository. So employee repository, and this is an interface, and it will extend the JPA repository. And this is an employee, and the ID is long. Yes. So this is fixed, and now if we auto wire the employee repository, so when this starts, we should have we should be able to create our employees. So for this case, we don't need a logger. We'll just say creating employees, and let's say for 500. So for 500 we will employee repository dot save a new employee, and for name we'll just use, let's say, name and the iterator, and here we'll say finished creating employees. Right, so let's start the application and see if the employees are saved. The employees are saved. So if we go to the database, let's refresh, and we can see that we have a bunch of names, which is perfect, and we have our 500 employees. Now, what we want to do is create an additional add an additional field to the employee, which will be the, let's say, the department. So let's keep it, and another column. For this case will be just a string, and let's say department. Okay, here we want a string department. This department equals department, and of course we want the getters and setters. So the department is a way to identify the employees. So here let's make okay, so if let's say we put not here, so here if we put the identification here, it will always be an IT. So let's create a random, and let's randomize it a little bit. New random. Okay, so in every iteration we'll say random int whoops, next int, and in this case we want the origin will be, let's say, okay, let's say it will go up to 11, and let's say percentage. Okay, so in this case if the percentage is lower than 3, if the percentage is lower than 3, then we will put HR, and otherwise we will put IT. And this will just put them in different departments. Let's run the application again. And let's see if anything has changed. Of course it has changed. The department is here, and of course the way to get only the IT or the HR, either with SQL or with code, is to select the employees where the department is what we want. Now let's say that we want to add the department as an entity, as another entity, and we will associate it with every employee. So we will keep this code here, but we'll come here and create another entity entity we will call department. This is another entity. So we need an ID again, generated value again, strategy, identity again, private long ID. Perfect. So here we just need the column which will be a private string name for the department, and Do you want anything else? No, I think we are okay. So let's create a constructor. We want a default one, and let's create one with the name. And in this case, we'll add the getters and setters again. Perfect. Of course, we need another repository. So we'll call it department repository. Interface again, and this one extends JPA repository, of course. And here we're managing the department, and the type of the ID is long. So in this case, we will have to add the repositories to the equation. Let's auto-wire the department repository. But in this case, we will associate the employee to the department. There are some ways to do it. There's a unidirectional association between the entities, but in this case, I just want something that works. And so the idea is that we have the departments, which we will create here. Let's say creating departments. So department repository, save new department. In this case, we want the IT, and we will return it. And let's create the HR. Department repository, save new department, and here we will put HR. Perfect. Now, the employee will have an association to the department. So we, in this case, we have a many-to-one association because many employees are associated to a single department, and we'll associate it like so. Department, but okay, this is actually we can't do this yet. Let's change this to let's refactor it, and let's say yes, everywhere department old. Let's keep it like so. Actually, no, we'll keep it like it is, and here the department will be let's say team. Okay, so let's create the getters and setters. The department can be null or not, so I'm not adding it into the constructor. Usually it's set at a different time in the application. So here we are, and we have the IT department and the HR department. So in this case we have the percentage. So let's do it like so. If the percentage first of all, we want to extract the employee in a different new employee. We'll just give them a name plus I. Perfect. and we'll still keep this just for just to keep it as a legacy, let's say, logic. Introduce local variable, and this will be our employee. So if percentage is lower than 3, again we're actually using this logic exactly, then the employee will set the department to the HR. Actually, we'll set the team to the HR. Otherwise, the team will be IT. And here we're just saving the employee. And let's see if this works. So it turns out my Docker database dropped in a way. So in this case, we can see that the departments are created and the employees are created. And if we go to the database, we can see that the employee is associated to the department by the team ID in this case, poor selection of variable names, and the department is here. So let's see how we would write the SQL statements for this case. Let's select all the IT employees. So select everything from employee, where employee dot department in this case equals to IT. Let's run it. Actually, let's count them and see how many they are. 370. Perfect. Now let's try to write the exact same query, but using the associations that we have. And this is done simply because the SQL queries that we'll be writing, that I will be writing now, will be used prior to automating this whole process and exporting the statistics. As to counting how many employees are from HR and how many are from IT. So let's do the following. Again, let's count them, and we should have 370 from employee. Now they should be 500. Perfect. And let's join department on employee dot team ID equals department dot ID, where department dot name equals IT. 370. So the statement is the query is correct and it works. And in fact, at work we have a couple more couple more associations. For example, we have a department and then we have a team, and the employee is added to the team, but we still want to extract these numbers in a similar manner, and that's it. I just wanted to create a test and see how it works. I knew it would work in any way, but I didn't want to use bidirectional associations or anything like that. I just wanted something that works. So we can see it works. This is an example, and at some other point perhaps I will use bidirectional associations and see if there are any differences or anything like that to the SQL queries I will be writing.